Jay here for Stretford Paddock,
Yes.
and this is Stretford Paddock Live. Joining me is my favourite co-presenter, Mr. Joe Smith. How are we, Joe? You okay?
I'm not bad, mate. The difference between me and you, I'd say the main difference between me and you tonight, obviously we're here to talk about transfers and all other things Manchester United. The difference between me and you is I'm the same age today as I was yesterday. Whereas you aren't, are you, Jay? Tell us a bit more about that.
Joe, I don't, you know, when you get to my age, 29 years old, you don't like to celebrate birthdays.
What is it, 29 years and 8,000 days? Something like that.
I've been 29 for the last 12 years. But, you know, I think we can all agree, I don't look a day over 40.
No.
Really, do I?
Happy birthday to Jay.
Thank
happy birthday. Well, just say happy birthday in the chat to him.
Yeah,
41
listen,
years old today, aren't you?
I know. And Ross Murphy straight in wishing Jay a happy birthday in the super chat. Thanks, guys. And I do appreciate it. I've had loads of messages as well on social media. And quite nice, not very abusive, which is, it makes a change.
Cheers,
my use on
no actual cheers.
No actual cheers, but chin.
Cheers.
I'm on the hard stuff as always, the Pepsi Cherry Max. Joe, because it's my birthday, has decided to have a Chardonnay, a Sancerre.
Whatever that means, yeah. Cheap and white, mate.
Yeah.
Like myself. What are we talking about today, then?
We're talking about Manchester United transfers.
Oh, yes.
Or in the lack of them, if I'm being brutally honest, because, as always, United are linked with a lot of players, and then when you scratch beneath the surface, it's like, is that player going to come this January? Probably not. One player we've been linked with, and again, I use the term loosely, is, right, I need to get this right, Boubakary Soumaré. Have I said that right? Possibly. This is a young lad who plays for Lille. Lille, who are flying high in League One in France. I think they're joint second with PSG. I think it's actually, is it Lyon who are top of that league? If memory serves. Yes, it is. So they're doing really well. He's played in their midfield, played quite a few, well, played practically every game, played really well as well. United scouts, according to various reports, have been looking at him.
Yep.
Doesn't look like there's a transfer going to happen. That was the sort of crux of it, because it's like the story, when you scratch again beneath the surface of these stories, is that United are looking at him, he's playing well, he's highly rated, the scouts have been impressed, but they ain't going to sign him this January. Now, summer, this is probably the most obvious thing I've ever said in my life, is different to January.
Yeah.
And in summer, we are going to be going for, I know, revelations there. This is sort of insight you get on this channel.
Just reiterating the current Gregorian structure that we sort of call the old rule book in terms of seasons and calendars. Very well said, Jay. The summer is different to January. Carry on.
And, you know, it's something that I only recently discovered as well, which has made my life a lot easier.
Yeah.
So, in the summer, I expect United to go all out. Turbo, as Stephen Allison would say, in this transfer window. And I think we may be getting the likes of maybe Soumaré and a few others. But January isn't going to happen, despite the fact he's playing well, despite the fact that, you know, we can always do with a young talented midfielder. In January, and the scouts have been impressed. It's not looking likely. But, Joe, one for longer term?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know much about this kid?
I don't know too much about him. I don't think anyone knows too much about him. He looks very impressive. I've seen highlights of him. I've read tweets from people who seem to know more than me about him. And everyone seems to, you know, talk as though he's a very promising young player, a future star. The kind of talk that, remember, is in France, and is it Tottenham now? Their midfielder that they bought from, what's his name? Ndombele. He was this young, very talented, highly rated player playing in France, and it has a similar feeling to me where you watch highlights of him and you think, well, he's good defensively, he's good going forward, he's a young player. Who knows is the honest answer there. I trust the scouts at this level, at this age, 21 years old, young player playing for Lille. He looks as though he's an excellent player and a very highly rated player at that. And I'm glad that United are scouting him. But as we said yesterday, with you look at the likes of Aaron Wan-Bissaka, he was on a list of 400 right backs. Do you think he's not on a list of a similar number of midfielders? Like every club in Europe is scouting this guy, and hopefully he's the right guy for United, and hopefully we get him when we want him. But yeah. Doesn't seem as though it's going to be January, does it? No, it's not going to be January. I'd be very, very surprised. Because one thing, other than Donny van de Beek was probably the exception to the rule. But usually when United are in for someone, you hear about it, you know about it. And there's been no sort of real stories about us going for him in January. Yeah. As I said earlier, Lille flying. So it doesn't, whether you rate the French league or not, if you're level on points with PSG,
you're doing something right.
Yeah.
So, he's obviously been an integral part of the Lille team. They're doing really well in the French league. So, I mean, at the end of the season, if he wins the French league, or if Lille win the French league and he's been a big part of that, you think there'll be a lot of clubs looking at it going, hang on a minute, how's that happened? Why haven't PSG won it? He could be the reason why.
Yeah.
Let's get him.
And also, the problem you could see with that is, if he is that good, if he is one of the reasons why Lille make Champions League or, God forbid, win the league, which doesn't seem likely at any time, but who knows, you sort of think, well, why don't we get him in January? Because he's worth 25 million now. He'll be worth 55, 65 if they go on to do great things with him in their team. So there's always that balance, isn't there? You have to kind of trust the scouts. We have implemented this strategy seemingly of getting 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old players for, sort of early in their career, get them quick, get them early, and, whether he fits that bill or not, you would hope that he's the sort of player United are interested in if he's the right one.
Yeah, and obviously at a midfielder, I mean, it's a bit difficult with a midfield. It's a bit strange because at the minute, we've got quite a strong midfield. And I think you look at it, you've got McTominay, Fred, Matic, Van der Beek, Pogba, Bruno. Now I'd argue, you've got 2 world-class midfielders there, or at least on the day.
I would argue that is arguably, depth-wise, not that high-end, hi-hat stuff, but in terms of the bass drum, the depth of the team, I would argue that is our best midfield
ever
since, and I might, 2008. In terms of the depth of it, when we had
bold
the likes,
statement.
Hargreaves, Scholes, Carrick was in there. Carrick. We had
Anderson was good when we bought him.
But we had great players at the top end of that. But we've never had 5 players. Yeah, Fletcher, who maybe you could compare to McTominay or Fred in terms of his involvement in the squad. But after that, when we had Scholes had retired and then come back and was brilliant, but wasn't 28-year-old Paul Scholes. He was 38-year-old Paul Scholes.
Yeah.
Then we had Michael Carrick, who was slowing down a little bit as well.
Giggs went in the middle.
Giggs became more central. Rooney became more central. We had Tom Cleverley. We had an older Anderson playing there. And then after Fergie left, I don't think there's any competition in terms of the midfield. Schneidlin, Schweinsteiger. You look now, Pogba is a brilliant player. Bruno is one of the best players in the world. Matic is excellent on his day, but can't play every week. McTominay, physically very good, leaving a little bit to be desired at certain times in terms of his positioning. Same with Fred. And then you've got Van der Beek backing that up as well. That's a lot of very good players in there. And in terms of, again, none of them are as good as Paul Scholes. I wouldn't say any of them are as good as Michael Carrick, although Bruno's, again, one of the best players in the world.
Yeah.
But in terms of the depth, have that many players that are very good players, it's a position we haven't been in, whether it was 2008, a very long time anyway.
No, I completely agree with that. And I think it's, not only is it one of the strongest midfields we've had for about 13 years, it's also one of the strongest midfields in the league, if not the strongest.
I'd say the second, behind City.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good shout there. City have got a very strong midfield. But the fact we're even having this conversation is fantastic because this time last season, I wouldn't have even argued we had the strongest midfield in
Manchester.
Trafford.
Well, we still don't. Exactly. The strongest midfield,
on Salford.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It was like we had a pretty threadbare midfield. The fact Pogba wasn't playing, we hadn't signed Bruno.
Matic looked retired.
Matic was halfway out the door, wasn't he? Fred and McTominay had done okay. Pereira was not the greatest, and it just seemed a bit of a mess. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the summer, how United approach that. We know that Paul Pogba's going to leave, even though we don't want him to. He is going to go, and I think we're pretty much resigned to that fact. Are United going to strengthen? I know that Boubakary Samare is a completely different player to Paul Pogba, but we may add reinforcements. And if we did bring him in off the back of a good season in the French league and he wasn't, 80, 90 million, then I'd be all for that.
Yeah, and just back to the point of the strength of our midfield.
Please do.
Steve used to say this quite a lot, and it's pretty self-evident, but it needs someone saying sometimes for you to realise that. The midfield is the most important part of the pitch because... And again, this goes without saying, but they are the ones that give the ball to the attackers. They are the ones that stop your defence having too much pressure on them. Like, the fact that we had such a poor midfield for so many years and we were so far off the top, I think is no coincidence. The fact now we've improved the midfield in terms of acquisitions, which is Bruno Fernandes. We've also got arguably the best out of Matic that we've seen in a couple of years. We've got Fred to a place. Solskjaer has got Fred to a place that I don't think any Manchester United fan could have possibly envisaged when he took over. He was lost, gone, one of the biggest wastes of money you've ever seen at £50 million under Jose. has become one of the most reliable.
Yeah.
Again, that's not necessarily a mark on his quality, but it's certainly a mark on his consistency. One of the most reliable midfielders in the league. And then you look at the improvement of McTominay, of Matic, of Paul Pogba. You've got to give Ole credit for that. But yeah, I don't think it's a surprise that our midfield is the strongest it's been in a decade, and we are in the strongest position we've been in, almost the same amount of time.
No, you're completely right. And as you've already said, and other people have said, you've got to give Ole credit. He's done it, man. He's got to get the best out of some of these players. Fred, as you said, was sort of, the forgotten man, which sounds bizarre considering he'd only just been bought. But I remember I always go back to the Juventus game. We're losing 1-0 at home to Juventus. Fred, new signing, sat on the bench, doesn't get a game. After the game, Jose Mourinho says, I looked on the bench, I didn't have anyone. Yeah. Which is, just the sort of vote of confidence you want from your manager when you've just signed for Manchester United Football Club.
You call it the engine room, Jay. What are your thoughts on that as a term? Overused? Rubbish?
The engine room?
The engine room.
I like that. I like the old school sayings.
Isn't the engine room at the end of like a train, though? It's not in the middle, is it?
Depends.
It should really be called the carriages.
The carriages.
The seating area. The buffet car.
What is it? Anna and Clarabelle of the
not the engine room. The engine room's at the back.
Not the Thomas the Tank.
No.
I'm going to go into some of the comments as well, guys. Let us know what you think of Samare. Do we need to get him? Are we okay? Are we okay? Here's a good one for you. Waiting until summer for these signings, because everyone we spoke to, and that's, we have spoke to journalists. We had Romano on last week. We've spoke to others as well.
Laurie Whitwell. If you remember, check that video out today. That's out now.
Out now in the member section. They've all said that United doesn't look like we're signing anyone in January.
Unless the right player becomes available.
The right player becomes available, or we have, a massive injury crisis suddenly, then maybe we'll go out and buy someone. But is that a mistake, do you think, to be waiting till the summer? Or do you think that, we're all right at the minute? You just said there about our midfield, if we stick to midfield, for example, how strong it is. Do we actually need another body who's not going to be getting many games?
Well, we do and we don't. And one of the key elements to whether we do is how City and Liverpool in particular, and let's be honest, Tottenham and Villa and Everton and Chelsea and all the other teams who are going to be fighting for top four, if one of them or two of them strengthen and make their team noticeably better than it is currently, then we might be in trouble. But if everyone is finding it that with COVID, with the fact that it's January anyway, and generally speaking, it's harder to get those big players in. If everyone is going, there's no value in the market, we can't get the players we want, no one's selling, then fair enough. You sort of level playing field, you take that on for the rest of the season. I think we're in a good position to certainly finish top four, hopefully carry on this title charge for as long as possible. But if City go out and get, a striker, or if they get a fullback or a winger or whatever it is they're missing, or a replacement for Fernandinho, or Liverpool go out and get another centre-back to back up the fact that Van Dijk's out, or they get another striker to back up the fact that Firmino doesn't actually score any goals, and all of a sudden they have a transfer that comes in and changes their team, then we might be thinking, why didn't we just push Haaland now? Or why didn't we we'll get onto that, by the way, who we think we should be signing. But it very much depends on what other people are doing. And not that you want to be, oh, what are Liverpool doing, let's copy that.
No.
But if they're going to be pulling away with new transfers, then I would start to worry. On the other side of that coin, look at Chelsea, spent 250 million over the summer on loads of new transfers, and arguably only Thiago Silva is the one that you would say has properly settled in out of all of them.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a guarantee that... How many times do you buy players and they aren't Bruno? Almost every time. Do you know what I mean? The fact that we got...
Well, yeah, you're right, almost every time.
The fact that
one time.
Well, but I don't mean Bruno
I get what you mean, yeah. They're not that calibre.
Yeah.
It's like people, when people have to go back to
exactly.
Evra and Vidic, the January transfers.
That was 2005, six?
Yeah. So that's when people
15 years ago.
Like, well, look, we got Evra and Vidic in the January transfer window. What, almost a decade and a half ago.
Yes.
So it is extremely difficult. We had a super chat here.
Yeah. We got Ighalo in the January transfer window.
If I can find it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Yes, we did. United Forever podcast. Being very clever and funny here.
Go on.
Saying, according to Sports Build, we've put a £5 million bid in for PSV starlet Anal Bedes. Now, I might have read that differently.
Oh.
Yes?
Beads.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Yeah, we put a bid in for him, according to this super chat.
Very witty.
Very witty.
It's very funny.
Wit and repartee.
And what it's done, Jay, is it's made a mockery of us and it's made a mockery of this show. And you know what?
Mockery my Google search.
They
Now all sorts of filth is coming up here. After I tried to Google to see how it was any good.
Yeah.
But I have just placed an order. That's a different story.
As funny as it is, ban him from the channel
No,
immediately.
we love United Forever
That's
podcast.
it. You're gone.
That's just some of the witty banter we get on this channel, and we love it.
Right, next up. What's up next, Jay?
Talking of players that won't be coming to Old Trafford.
Don't phrase it like that. There's a chance.
All right.
If they become available, they might come.
All right then. Let's talk about a player that we've been linked with over the last 2 months and who it looked like was heading to Old Trafford up until recently. And guys, as well, just before I forget, do hit the like button, hit the like, and get involved in the chat. Adam McCullough, thanks for wishing me an happy 49th birthday, but you'd sweat years out, mate. Yeah, get involved in the chat as well.
69 already.
I know, mate.
You don't look a day over 58.
This is it.
I'm really proud of you.
But get involved in the chat and hit the like button. Yeah, another player that we were linked with, now it doesn't look like we're coming, is Moises Caicedo.
We mentioned this last night, didn't we?
We mentioned this last night. The development is that, you know, it's like sort of almost done deal now that he's going to Brighton. £4.5 million.
Shit. Don't fucking want to know it's shit, mate.
And apparently, Independiente del Val.
Oh, here he is.
Yes. Who are selling him to Brighton will get a big chunk of any sell-on fee. Now, you can see that in the graphic.
Independiente del Val or Independent Val, who's the 58-year-old divorcee who goes to the pub.
Independent Val should go out now. Yeah. Now she's got rid of him.
She'll do what she bloody wants now, won't she?
If I want to go bingo on Tuesday, I'm going.
Go on, Val.
Yeah, go on, Val. You live your best life.
That's Independent Val right there.
Yeah.
That's a new me. Go on. Read on, brother.
So, Independent Val will get a bit of a change from this. If they sell him on. Now, of course, if you want to go down this rabbit hole, this could lead to he's going to go to Brighton, and obviously we've been looking at him. If he does well at Brighton, he'll end up coming to United for loads of money. You know, Independent Val will get a load of cash out of it. It's a bit of a funny one, isn't it, with Moises Caicedo, because unlike you, Joe, who knows a lot about him and has been watching him for the last 3 years, I didn't even know who he was 6 months ago. Wow. You know, until we were linked with him, because my footballing sort of sphere is very limited.
That says a lot, and it's damning.
Yeah, no, it is
damning. Recruitment of the.
I should have been.
Is it again? Colombian, Peruvian,
Ecuadorian
league, mate. You ain't watching Independent Val on a regular basis.
Do you know what?
You bought her a Bailey's in lemonade the other week.
Somewhere between watching United and looking after 3 kids, I didn't have a chance to watch as much Ecuadorian football.
They are your kids, just to be clear.
So I'm told. I didn't have enough time to be watching as much Ecuadorian football as I wanted to. But people that did told us he was very good. United have been tracking him. United looks like we're going to buy him at one point. He was heavily linked with us. And now it looks like he's going to Brighton. Now, without being disparaging, he's a 19-year-old kid, so obviously he's got a massive future ahead of him. Does this kind of indicate that he isn't at the levels that we need if he's got to Brighton? Now, I know Brighton have got the best striker in the world in Danny Welbeck, but other than that aside, if he's going to Brighton, you probably think, all right, he's not quite ready for Manchester United yet. I'm right now. It's not just proper basic argument.
It's a little bit of a basic argument, but then over time, if you stick to that argument over multiple players, you're right more than you're wrong. So maybe it's a bit of a basic argument. But again, as people who, let's be honest, all of us, I think people watching and ourselves haven't seen much of him. Like, we've seen YouTube highlights, we've seen Twitter highlights, at best. But as people who don't watch him week in, week out, and even if you did, let's be honest, even if you did watch him week in, week out, in the Ecuadorian league, what can you learn in terms of his ability to beat, Virgil van Dijk in a one-on-one, or to beat, N'Golo Kante one-on-one, or whoever it may be? So there's always going to be that element of how he translates from where he is now to England. And sometimes people always say this about Harry Maguire's a good example, because he was at Sheffield United, then he was at Hull, then he was at Leicester, then he came to United. And people hear it a lot, and it's a fair argument potentially that why didn't we get him from Hull for 8 million like Leicester did, or whatever they paid for him? Because sometimes people need to take the journey before you sign them. It's not just the case of, well, if he's good at Brighton, we should have signed him. Sometimes people need the Brighton stepping stone to get the match experience, to come into England and move country, move continent, move, the weather's completely different, the language is completely different, everything's completely different. Sometimes you need the pressure of Brighton, which is wildly different to the pressure of Man United, before you can join Man United. So I don't think if he goes to Brighton, tears it up and is brilliant, which I hope he is, that we go, oh, we should have signed him, because sometimes there's talented players. Like you look at Lucas Piazon, who left Chelsea today, who is their longest-serving player, has been there for 9 years, has played 3 games for him. But you don't know that if he wasn't at another club, he couldn't have come through and then been ready for Chelsea. De Bruyne is a perfect example of that. He wasn't right at Chelsea. You let him go to Wolfsburg, goes to Man City, one of the best players in the world. Sometimes you need that step, and hopefully for him it works out. And hopefully for United, when we do sign him in 3 years for 89 million, a club record fee, he'll be the player we need.
You're right, and historically some of our best players have had that journey, if you will. I don't know. Look at Rio, for example, West Ham, exactly. Then the big move to Leeds, big move to United. Michael Carrick, I don't know, West Ham Central, but another one who went to Spurs, big club, and then gets his move to Manchester United.
It's not certain that he would have been ready to come straight to United from West Ham.
Even like Andy Cole, he was sort of dropped by Arsenal. I think he went to Bristol City, then he went to Newcastle, then he ends up at United. So sometimes, like you say, it does help that they go to a club, and especially a Premier League club, get that experience and get that move. In the super chat, Peter Kelly says, late to the vid, was watching uncensored. Just want to say, happy birthday, Jay. It just goes to show, only legends are born in January. Well said, Peter.
That's very true.
Adam McCullough says, go on, Val. He's a big fan of Val. And,
she's been through hard times.
She's been through a lot,
she's coming out the other side. She's got her support network, hasn't she? She's got her bubble.
She has got her bubble, and more power to her.
God bless her.
Also, a story doing the rounds.
Go on, man.
Is about a player.
Proper party atmosphere.
It's a party. Come on.
You can't see it off camera.
It's not very often.
There's about
29.
170 people. 170 people out there.
Socially distanced.
Socially distanced. No, there's not. There's one person.
There's one person.
But it feels like a party.
It does feel like a party.
Carry on.
Erling Haaland. Remember him? Well,
do I?
Apparently, Barcelona, whoever they are interested in him. Now, this was the issue we had with Erling Haaland. We didn't get him, obviously. He went to Dortmund. Obviously. And the problem was, we were saying, well, we can maybe get him from Dortmund. He's got this buyout clause or whatever it is.
Yeah, 72 million euros, 2022.
There you go, well said.
Thank you.
Dortmund are a selling club. Job done. But the issue is, the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, whoever, PSG perhaps, start sniffing around him, and then you're in a bidding war, and then he decides, you know what, I didn't fancy United the first time round, I certainly don't fancy him now. I'm going to go to Barcelona, and this looks like what could be happening.
Well, the Daily Mirror there saying Barcelona could ruin the long-term plans of both Manchester United and Manchester City by launching a bid for Erling Haaland. Due to Mino Raiola, now,
there's words that always strike fear into my heart.
Well, what I think they've done there is they've stuck his name in there to rile up United fans and to scare City fans, because that doesn't make sense.
Let's have a look. Barcelona
he's going to Barcelona due to Mino Raiola. What does that mean?
Manchester United by launching a bid for Erling Haaland.
So he's decided he's going to Barcelona. Is that the suggestion here? I think he's got a buyout clause which becomes active next summer, as far as I'm aware, the summer of 2022.
Yeah.
72 million euros, which is massively. I mean, even now, he would sell for more than that.
This kid is the proverbial goal machine.
Yeah, I think he's averaged a goal a game for Dortmund in the league since he's arrived there. And we'll talk a bit more about him later, because we are going to be going through who we think would be the difference for United, who we think would win the league, or let's say we do win the league this season, which we're going to, who will win it for us next year as well. And I'm going to be talking more about Erling Haaland in that. In terms of Barcelona, have Barcelona been a less appetising prospect in the last 15 years than they are right now?
I thought you were going to say last 50 years then.
Well, they were shite in the 90s as well.
Whoa!
They were, be honest. Be honest, Jay.
We beat the greatest football side the world has ever seen.
Not all of the 90s.
In the Winners' Cup final in 91.
Mid-90s then. Anyway. They hadn't won I don't think they'd won the Champions League, had they, until the 90s or the 2000s.
They won it in 92, I think, for the first team.
Yeah.
But don't forget, much of that team is what we beat in 91. So
that was a great team.
Do you know what I mean?
Anyway,
we digress. You're right, Barcelona ain't vintage.
No, and it feels as though
Messi's 47.
And there's a real turmoil in terms of whether he'll even be there next season. All of their best players are the wrong side of 30. You look at Piqué, you look at Messi, Rakitic I think is left now, hasn't he? But the team that was so great, that transitioned so brilliantly from Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets, is now Busquets and whoever they can put next. I mean, De Jong's a good player, but he's not going to carry Barcelona like...
They're a mess as well, aren't they? You saw it last season. Was it the Champions League semi-final?
Yeah.
Where he had, Coutinho playing against them and scoring. And, 130 million quid's worth of talent or whatever, 180 million
on loan
or on the bench. And it was just like, what? How is this even work? Then you have this saga with Messi in the summer where he basically came out and
who
said...
can leave on a free at the end of the year, by the way.
And I think he will end up going
And they've got Griezmann,
down the road.
has struggled to get a game for a team that paid 100 million quid for him. They've got Ousmane Dembele, who they spent 120 million euros on, who doesn't get a game for him, or when he does, he's injured. And they're just in a tricky time at the moment. I'm not saying they're shit
and then they let Suarez go, and he goes to Atletico Madrid, and he's helping them set it up. So, I mean, it's just
they're
a disaster.
They're not quite the prospect they once were. Not saying that United are Barcelona in terms of recent success, but I think we're on the way to being an attractive prospect, certainly for someone like Haaland, who has got a prior relationship with Ole.
Maka says, who is this Messi fella? Also, United Forever podcast in the chat says, sorry lads, had to be done. Birthday joke for Jay.
Go on.
He was the one that did the anal thing. What do you call a virgin on a waterbed? I don't know why I'm reading this out, but you've paid money, and you know what? Fair enough.
For cash, Jay will do... He'll say anything. I've heard you... Well, I can't repeat it on air, but you've said some absolute awful stuff. Awful, hideous words.
Seriously.
For very little cash.
It is ridiculous.
What do you call a virgin on a waterbed? I'm not even going to guess because it's going to be bad. Go on.
A cherry float.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Well, let's be honest. Let's go into that a little bit, and we'll move on in a sec. You can introduce the next.
I'm going to go through some comments, but go on, say what you got to say.
I get it. I get the joke. There's no doubt I get it. But cherry float as I assume a drink. Is that what the term? That's not a thing. What is this? A joke from the 30s? Yeah, I get the double entendre that we're working with here, but a cherry float isn't a reference point that anyone is using in the 2020s, is it? If we're honest. Come on, Jay.
I'm sorry. Someone's asked me about the Champions League final, wasn't it? Not Juve that won the Champions League final in 1992. Peter Kelly's asked. No, I think it was Barcelona.
When you say you think it was, what are you reading there?
What?
You said no. I think it was Barcelona. You've Googled
I said Barcelona, yeah.
You Googled it?
Yeah, right. But I'm being polite.
No, that's... Yeah, okay.
Rather than me going, you're wrong.
Just give it to him straight.
I'm just going, I think, you know.
Right, what's next? Come on, let's talk football.
So Erling Haaland basically didn't want him anyway, a load of shit.
Yeah.
And Mino Raiola, lovely guy.
Also
misunderstood Mino Raiola, I think.
Yeah.
Nice fella.
Yeah. Lovely
People
round
need to give him a
glasses.
chance. Cares about the football. So he's always about the football, Mino.
I think Mino
Raiola. He's not one of these agents who's just about money and he's naming the papers. He's the quiet man. He stays in the background. Just make sure his players are happy.
You could draw him only using circles as well, which is nice. If you only got a protractor and a pencil, you could draw Mino Raiola, no problem. Circular glasses, face, belly, body. Perfect. Carry on.
Right. What's next on the agenda anyway? Players going out. Players leaving.
Yeah.
Starting with a lad that I love. Brandon Williams.
Well, it's looking like he might not be leaving after all, because he was...
I'll tell you what, we've had some right stories on it. We've got, he's not coming, we're not getting him, we're not buying him, and I tell you who's not leaving, Brandon Williams, he's going nowhere. Coming up next, Ollie's staying. No, go on.
Well, he was linked with Southampton, wasn't he? But they've gone, we're bored of this, because 4 days is too long for any football club to wait for anything. So they've decided that Southampton are now saying, due to the length of time this is taking, which, if I'm not mistaken, it's the 13th of January. I am mistaken. The 14th of January.
How dare you?
So they've had 2 weeks.
Today, what day it is today.
They've had 2 weeks to talk about this deal.
Yeah.
And they're all of a sudden, it's taking too long. Southampton expect to miss out on Brandon Williams and are looking at alternatives as a loan deal with Man United is currently proving difficult.
I refuse to believe any transfer business of any sort with Manchester United Football Club is difficult. We are notoriously easy to deal with.
Yeah.
We're like a well-oiled machine when it comes to making deals happen.
And we spoke to Laurie Whitwell on the transfer bar.
We did.
Transfer
bar, yeah, we did. Actually, I forgot it was called that. Yeah, go on.
It is called that because it's set in a bar. If you know.
Right, I get it. Sorry, Joe, I'm getting a bit grouchy in the old age.
What? It's your birthday. Lighten up, mate. We spoke to Laurie Whitwell and he was saying about on the right back front, which is, I know Brandon Williams has played predominantly left back, but if he's going to be getting minutes this season, it probably will be at right back with Tellez and Shaw on the left. He said that we did want Kieran Trippier.
Yeah.
He was on the list of players we wanted, but But then he's got this, 10 match or 8 match gambling ban?
Yeah, it's something like that. Something ridiculous. I mean,
has put United off him, essentially.
Yeah. If you saw that, you saw the text messages that went around. I mean, I don't want to get too much into it, but you can sort of sympathise with him a little bit. I think he was a bit of naivety there. Yeah. But yeah, that looks like it's not happening. Now, Southampton, they've only got Ryan Bertrand, haven't they? Southampton, didn't he? I think pretty sure he's left back. I'm guessing like Brandon Williams would have got more games there anyway at St Mary's than he's going to get at Manchester United. Good player, obviously, very young. Sort of exceeded expectations last season, didn't he? Yeah. No one thought he was going to feature much for the first team. Came in, did a really good job, ended up playing about 20 games, which was sort of like, everyone was like, wow.
I think he made 30 appearances.
30 appearances in total,
so, yeah.
There you go, that goes to show. This season has found it a little bit more difficult to get into the team, especially when now you look at it, we've got Alex Tellers has come in, Luke Shaw obviously has sort of stayed relatively injury-free compared to previous seasons.
What a compliment.
Yeah.
Oh, Luke Shaw, what do you think of Luke Shaw? Well, I'll tell you what I say about Luke Shaw. My God, is he relatively injury-free. And there's he's a physically speaking,
damning
he
with
is off
faint
the
praise.
Injury table.
Keeps himself fit.
That'll do it.
Looks after himself.
Yeah, that's not the compliment.
Always turns up.
Is he a good player?
I tell you what.
He's available for selection.
Yeah, he's there if you want him.
I think Luke Shaw
brought his boots.
I think Luke Shaw gets a bit of unfair stick. I think he's been all right recently.
Wow, I think Luke Shaw gets a bit of unfair stick. He's been barely adequate.
No, he's been better than he had been. He's been offering more going forward. He looks as though he's trying harder.
Wow. This is like when I'm trying to,
This is like
compliment
my
my
report.
kids.
Do you know
in
year 9 when you're on report all year?
Yeah.
And you're like, better than he has been.
Yeah.
Trying harder.
Seen some improvements in areas.
Yeah.
Not so much in others.
Less cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
Which was always a problem.
Well.
Of me at school, not Luke Shaw.
Right, I was about to say,
no,
my thoughts on that sort
Don't
of thing.
worry about
We're not going to go down that
Yeah.
horrible road.
Yeah.
But Luke Shaw is, regardless of whether you like Luke Shaw or not, and it's obvious you love him, Ollie rates him, getting lots of games. Alex Tellers has come in and hasn't really taken his place. He's been rotating them both, and more often than not, it's Luke Shaw who keeps his place in the team.
All joking aside, what I will say about Luke Shaw...
Go on, get with it, brother.
Plenty of teams have won the league with worse fullbacks than Luke Shaw. So whilst I think he's improvable, and I actually think he himself is improvable, I think he can get better. Not just do I think we can improve on him in terms of personnel, I think he can improve. There are plenty, like I said, there are plenty of fullbacks who are worse than Luke Shaw that have won the league. So I'm not particularly worried about Luke Shaw in terms of he's going to be the difference between us winning the league or not. But yeah, I think Brandon Williams, I'm glad he's staying, to be honest. I like him.
I like Brandon Williams. Guys, hit like as well. If you're watching the video, we've got a lot of people watching it, not enough likes. Hit like, whether you like Luke Shaw, don't like him, think he's good enough, don't. Hit like anyway. The thing with Brandon Williams is, you don't want him to stagnate. You just said he played like almost 30 games, was it, last season?
Yeah.
So you don't want him this season to play like 10, because you feel like he's going backwards. But I still hope there is a bit of a job he can do. As you mentioned, he can play on the right, he's right-footed, he can play at left-back. We know we haven't got like an abundance of options at right-back in particular.
Well, especially now, let's be honest, considering Fossey Mensah's just left, who had been playing games at right-back here and there, and Ethan Laird has gone on loan to MK Dons. We saw Axel Tuanzebe play a few minutes at right-back a couple of weeks ago, but honestly, looking at the squad, we have one right-back, and then Brandon Williams, who's played most of the left-back. But if Wan-Bissaka, let's say Wan-Bissaka, heaven forbid, has a hamstring tear, is out for 6 weeks, or he's out for 2 weeks, whatever it may be, surely Brandon Williams plays every single one of those games. So it's unfortunate because you don't want him to go from 30 games to 6 games, which if Wan-Bissaka stays fit, it may well be a handful of games here and there. But if Wan-Bissaka does get injured, he's next in line, so I don't think we can afford to get rid of him.
No, I agree. I agree with what you're saying as well. And I think he brings that energy. He brings that. He's almost as soon as he gets on the pitch, he's always looking to get forward. When he came on against RB Leipzig, I thought he was our best player, and he was getting into their box. Do you know what I mean? He's like a left winger rather than a fullback. The Miz, and the super chat says no world-class central defensive midfielder will join United because they don't want the embarrassment of being picked behind Ollie's love child, McTominay. Right.
Well,
let me tell you something. Any man that scores a brace against Leeds United, it's not the love child. Well, they're going to Solskjaer. He's a legend. There's a bit of a debate in there with McTominay, where is he good enough? Is he this? Is he a fringe player? Is he a squad player? Is he someone you can rely upon? I like Scott McTominay. I don't think he's the greatest player in the world, but I think he can do a job for Manchester United in the sense that if he starts, I've not got a problem with that.
Well,
Do you know what I mean? I'm not like going, oh no, McTominay, what's going on here? I think he's a good player. And I think it's almost like you're not allowed to say someone's a good player now. You've either got to say they're awful or they're amazing.
Yeah.
Well, he's just like a good sort of 7 out of 10 player,
Yeah.
which sometimes you need. I'm just hoping, my one hope with Scott McTominay is that he's got another level to reach.
Yeah.
I don't this isn't his ceiling, because I think that if it is, then that's probably not what we were hoping for. I think we hope he can go a little bit better. And as well with midfielders as well, a lot of midfielders, when they get into the sort of mid to late 20s, they do notch it up a gear. I think midfield is one with it. Physically, they get more imposing. He's done that. Plus, they get the experience. They read the game a little bit better. And we've seen what he's done this season. I think he's having a pretty good season, Scott McTominay. Yes, he's far from perfect. I'm not going to pretend he is, but I think it's a little bit harsh, the whole Ollie's love child thing. I think people used to say that about Darren Fletcher and Fergie.
Yeah.
Darren Fletcher first came into the United team. I remember it was a game against Wolves, I think.
He was like 16, he wanted to play him, didn't he?
Yeah, we played him on the right wing when he came in. I remember against Wolves, he was awful. And everyone was going berserk. And it was just like, oh, what's he doing? Darren Fletcher's rubbish. And then fast forward to 2009, gets sent off in the Champions League semi-final. And everyone's saying, the reason we didn't beat Barcelona against Xavi and Iniesta, Darren Fletcher went playing.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, it becomes self-evident that Scott McTominay is good enough. He plays regularly. We are top of the league. So what?
See, these sort of logical explanations.
So how do you then go back from that and say he's shit? No good defensive midfielder would ever join United because he's so bad and yet he still plays. If Scott McTominay plays every game for Man United and we stay top of the league for the rest of the season, I don't want to sign a central midfielder. But like the result, not all we care about. The main thing you care about is are we winning a trophy? Or the end goal of watching Manchester United is let's win the Premier League, let's win the Champions League. And if we can have Scott McTominay be the midfielder that takes us to the top of the league and keeps us there, then he's done his job and he is good enough. Like you said, not everyone has to either be the best midfielder you've ever seen or throw him on the bonfire. There's spaces in the middle where you have the likes of Paul Pogba, who is an exquisite talent that is a world-class player on his day. You have the likes of Matic, who has got the brains and the nous and the positioning and is world-class on his day. But you also need Fred and McTominay and maybe not Pereira, but Van der Beek, who can come in and do, like I said, 7 out of 10 job every week. But you don't have to insult him because you don't think he's a world-class player. He plays for Man United. He's a great rotation option, and we're top of the league. It's going pretty well. It
is going pretty well, and I think that one thing you've seen with Scott McTominay as well, he's not just a central defensive midfielder. He's been sort of used a little bit more box to box at times, and
it's like 2-in-1 shampoo, isn't he? Like he's shampoo and conditioner. He's wash and go, Scott McTominay. Actually, this is how I describe him. He's not quite as good as conditioner by itself. He's not quite as good as shampoo. He's not quite as good as shampoo by himself.
I've not used shampoo,
but he's wash and go.
1997.
He's sort of almost as good as shampoo and almost as good as conditioner stirred into one.
Right.
Which is great when you're camping.
You have to get the hair analogies in, don't you?
Yeah.
You have to rub it in.
After rub it, well, you do have to rub it in. You have to get it right to the scalp.
Luscious locks.
Oh, you mean about taking the piss out of you?
Yeah, because I'm
bald.
I'd never do that. Right, so yeah, we like Scott McTominay, and we like Brandon Williams. Ighalo.
Yeah. He's leaving, isn't it, at the end of January?
Discuss.
Look at that. That's sad,
I love
it? Don't make me read that. Odion Ighalo wants Manchester United to stay after loan ends.
I want him to stay. I want him to stay, right? Just shut up and listen, right? Shut your fucking mouth, Lawrence, alright? I want Ighalo to stay. Just leave him alone. You don't have to play, right? We win the league, yeah? He comes on, last game, gets a game, and then we can sing.
Not a goal.
It's just a game,
right?
Ighalo 1, Gerrard 0.
Right. Yeah.
Happy days. Sorry, what was that?
He
needs to play 5. All right, he plays 5. We win the league with 5 games to go. He plays 5 games.
Yeah.
I thought the Scousers were like giving out league title medals last season.
I got an
players
offer in the post for.
I think it was just like if you play one now. I thought it's changed.
Yeah. Ighalo said, if it's possible, I'd like to stay. I never believed I'd play for United. Where I come from, because we fight. We fight because of United games. We quarrel. We argue. When my team hasn't done well, I've cried.
Should stick him on a YouTube channel. That
should.
Sort of attitude. It sounds like he'd be
he could
perfect for the fan cam,
Yeah.
Hey, we've all been there, Odion. We know what you're going through, son.
When you talk about players who again, have understood what it means to play for Man United, if there is such a thing, and it's a sort of poetic thing that people like to say. Every fan likes to say that about their own club.
Yeah.
And some clubs haven't got any identity, whereas I do think United genuinely have, and I do think there's a sort of set of rules almost that you want your players to abide by, and Ighalo couldn't encapsulate that anymore.
Yeah.
He absolutely loves Man United. Like, there's no doubt, there's no getting away from it. He loves Man United as much as anyone in the world. The way he talks about Man United,
probably a little bit more.
Maybe more than anyone in the world.
The problem is, right, and
Go on.
this is almost like,
What are you going to say? He's not top
it's almost
quality.
like kicking sand in a toddler's face, this. I love Odion Ighalo,
But you love kicking sand in the top of his face even more.
only if it's my own kids, right? I've never believed I'd play for United. I get it, but there's an element of, this isn't like Make-A-Wish Foundation. This isn't like, charity. Like, come on, you can come and play for United.
How
I know.
the actual dare you?
He's had a good spell. He scored 5 goals last season in the cup competitions, right? Ollie doesn't even use him off the bench now. And I think whilst, it's quite romantic telling, oh, bless him, he came in, did a little bit of a job. He isn't really going to feature, is he? I mean, he isn't. You can give me dirty looks all you want, but it's not like Ollie's going to go,
I'm not going to give you dirty looks,
Edinson,
I'm not even
Anthony,
looking at you.
Mason, not today, son, Odin's starting. It's not going to happen. I just feel like, is there any point in him being here? Because I love the guy and his Instagram is amazing if you've not checked it out, especially the post he does about trees.
Is that Instagram worth 150
That's
a
what
week?
I'm saying to you. That's the thing.
That's about all we're getting out of him.
For the Instagram, for the fact he loves the club, for the fact he's a
quotes.
lovely lad. I mean, his Christmas picture was adorable. Come on, man. Do you know what I mean? Like,
When you put it like that,
he's played for United now. He's had his little thing. And listen, a career on MUTV beckons. He will be, signing autographs for the rest of his life.
Wear
He'll be
Man
posing.
United polo shirt,
Yeah.
globe trotting around.
He will. You'll
the rest
see.
of the world.
He'll be doing all that sort of jazz, and he'll be loving it. He's set for life, right? I just don't think realistically he's got a future, and I don't think we can just keep him around because of the he gets it.
No.
He's not a mascot. He's a football player. Do you know what I'm saying?
Could he be the mascot, Jay? Now you mention it.
There's a fall from grace. Hey, you came in as our January
I know
signing.
you scored in
and now we
the
want you to
quarter-finals of the
maybe
Europa
when
League.
they carry out like the iPad out.
Yeah.
Just get him to do that for someone. That'd be
He's
nice.
holding
wouldn't it?
Harry Maguire's hand.
Yeah.
Walking out to the centre
That's
circle.
not insulting at all, is
No.
it, for an experienced Premier
Go on,
League
Odion,
and international player?
Do you know when they have the kids as the mascots and they like run the ball from the halfway line, like kick it in and the whole crowd, hey! Same with Ighalo. He's running it. Go on, lad. Hey! Well done.
Because the thing we have to remember, right, is I do love Odion Ighalo.
Show him some respect.
Like, let's not say to me, he's done well. He came in, he did a job.
I'm
but,
saying I like him.
But, he hasn't scored a Premier League goal in his last 31 Premier League games.
Neither of you.
That's a good point.
Right.
I haven't scored a Premier League goal in my last 50 Premier League games.
Exactly.
Actually. So, when you look at that and you think,
Yeah.
the fact that Ollie's not using him at all, I mean, he's played 4 games this season, only 1 in the Premier League as a sub, I think. So, he's not going to use him. He's not going to feature. We'd have to have, like, an injury crisis of biblical proportions for him to play for Manchester United in any meaningful game. Maybe you can use him in the Europa League if we're just going to say we're not bothering about the Europa League. But, again, he's not on pennies as well. And it's like, are we going to keep him around or just for the Europa League? Is that it?
No.
I don't know. I think it might be time to move on.
And again, he's not a person you have to feel sorry for. He's on gigantic wages in China. So he's leaving his boyhood club, but he's, what is it, 250? The reports of £300,000 a week that he's on. He's not a man you have to feel sorry for. And he's not even a man that is so shit that the fact that he ever played for Man United is nothing more than, like you said, some Make-A-Wish Foundation, I almost said Jim will fix it, but let's not.
Wow.
You did. He was a player that United needed that came in, got 5 goals for United, has done a job for us, filled in a gap until we've got Edison Cavani. He's done all right at United. All sentiment aside, he did what we signed him for. Fair enough. Go and earn 300 grand in China. We don't need to worry about.
And do you know what? At that time as well, because we almost forget how dark it was in January last year.
Well, the sun sets early because it's winter. Remember, you don't know the difference.
Is January different from summer?
January is not summer, and I know you struggle with this, but it's different.
I need to stop putting my sun cream on in January.
You do.
I've been told about this.
You absolutely do.
Right. We were at a dark place The fans were unhappy. We've just been beating off Burnley. We've been beating off the Scousers. There was no light at the end of the tunnel. Bruno comes in and he's amazing. But Odion comes in and everyone buys into it. Yeah. They love the guy. He's great on social media. He comes into the team, he scores some good goals. And it's like, you know what, it gives us a bit of positivity, doesn't it? During a spell when it wasn't great to be a Manchester United fan and a lot of us were angry and just frustrated at what was going on.
Especially when you think of sort of the big personalities in the dressing room, the people who are notoriously likeable at Manchester United. Yeah. Jesse Lingard is one of them, who was going through a very difficult time on and off the pitch. Paul Pogba is another one who
injured.
Seems to be everyone's best mate. Yeah. He was injured and had been for a couple of months at that time. Eric Bailly, another one who was injured and had been for a couple of months. He was one of the few likeable things about Manchester United for a while, and I think it was an important sign and a shrewd one as it's turned out. But yeah, I think it's run its course now, hasn't it? What's the next, James?
It has run its course, and we wish him well, Odion, no matter what. Right, here's one for you. One extreme to the other. You remember that new signing we bought in the summer? The one we paid 40 million quid for from
Jadon Sancho, yeah?
Yeah. Hey, as you pour yourself another glass of
Happy birthday,
Pinot Grigio, whatever it is.
Whatever.
Do you remember him?
Yeah.
Donny van de Beek?
Of course.
Well, apparently we're going to give him winter for a bit.
I wish that's what they called loans from now on.
As you do. Hey, because you know what? We're not giving her a player for a bit. Yeah. We've just bought him, don't matter. You can have him.
Yeah.
Like, there's stories, and I use the term lightly, doing the rounds.
Well, it's come from Sports Witness, hasn't it? Via an Italian source. And I'm not talking about bolognese.
I knew you were going to say that, Joe, and I'm glad you did, because I wanted you to. Right, as you can see here, Inter Milan are looking to take Donny van de Beek on loan until the end of the season, and sporting director Piero Osilio has made an approach in recent days. Manchester United have said no. Oh. Do you know what, right? I love this channel, and I think we do important work here, but I feel like I almost have to apologise for the fact that a lot of these stories tonight, we can only report the news. We don't create it. Yeah. We can only report what is being spoken about in newspapers. And I feel like I have to apologise because a lot of what was happening, at the end of it, we've gone, it's not happening.
Like, you know, for once, right?
Can we have a story where something is going to happen?
For once,
rather, we're not going to buy this player and we're not going to loan this player out, and that's a load of rubbish.
For once in recent memory, there's no news, there's no transfers because we're good. Like, there's been times in recent years when there's been no news because we don't need to write transfers because they're shit, and we can write how the manager should go, how Paul Pogba's shit, how Rashford is shit, how Matic is done, how De Gea's done. Like, there's been so much fuel to the fire of United are crap, let's write about that. Yeah. That all of a sudden, when we're actually quite good, all the transfers dry up. It's like this idea here. And really, what we've put it in here for is to spark a conversation, hopefully in the comments and between us.
Yeah, and we'll get into the comments in a minute, guys. I know you guys are chatting.
And the amount of games he's played for United this season, and whether you think he should be playing more. But I mean, if we loaned him out to Inter Milan this January, he's played 20 games for us. We've only played 17 league games, and he's played 20. He's made 20 appearances for United.
Yeah, I mean,
I know a lot of them haven't been huge minutes, but he's a huge part of our squad.
I mean, I kind of get it, right? I don't blame Inter or whatever, looking at it and going, there's been rumours. There's always rumours that he was a little bit unhappy. His agent was sort of making a bit of a mischief himself. Maybe Inter looked at him and thought, oh, could we get him on loan? Is there an option there where United want to keep giving him a lot more games or whatever? Well, it's not going to happen. We've bought him, like you say, he's playing a part. And also, last season, what went wrong was we ran out of steam towards the end of the season. So the likes of Paul Pogba, the likes of Bruno Fernandes, the likes of Marcus Rashford were knackered at the end of the season, but they were playing almost every game. So you need an option. And Donny van de Beek, he's that type of player where, yes, he's not as good as Paul Pogba or Bruno Fernandes, but if one of them was to be rested for Donny van de Beek or injured, you're not going, oh my God, this is a nightmare. Yeah. He can do a decent job. So
and some of the way that the whole Van der Beek situation has been phrased and sort of put forward as, I was asked on the radio the other week, and not by any malicious intent, it was just a question, but it was framed as, is Van der Beek being disrespected at Manchester United? Is Ole showing Van der Beek disrespect by not playing him? And that's the way a lot of people think about this situation, that we bought him and then he doesn't start every game. It's disrespectful. You watch football, you watch sport, you know this is how it works. You buy a player in to fill a gap in the squad, and when that gap becomes necessary, he rises and plays the games, or he rises and makes the substitute appearances. Or when Bruno's injured, Pogba slots into that number 10 spot, Van der Beek slots in where Pogba was. Or when, we've been very lucky with injuries this season, certainly in midfield. But Van der Beek is the next on the list in every single position in midfield. Yeah. He's the next on the list at number 6, he's the next on the list at number 8, and he's the next on the list at number 10, I would say, behind Bruno. Like, he's an excellent player in a lot of different ways. And talking about disrespect, like, we bought him, so we have to play him every week, otherwise he's got a right to throw his toys out the pram. He's a footballer for Manchester United. We're doing very well. He's playing a lot of games for us. People need to just calm down on the whole situation. And the idea that he's going to Inter, like, we've got him in and decided he's a failure and we need to get rid of him. He plays he makes an appearance for Man United every week. Other than being, if you want to play ahead of Bruno Fernandes, you have to get 20 goals and 20 assists because that's what he's doing.
And Paul Pogba is playing as well as he's ever played for us.
He's a very good player in a lot of different positions and he gets loads of games. What's the problem?
And also, it's almost like he's as good as we expected or hoped. Because he was never going to come in and go, right, I'm first choice and Bruno's getting dropped or Pogba's getting dropped. No one really expected that. So for someone who's going to be sort of next in line for those positions, he's as good as you're going to get. Yeah. So it all sort of makes sense. Just going to get into the comments. Let us know what you think about it. No, go on.
As you look at the comments there, Arsenal have very, very bravely got a clean sheet against Crystal Palace. I'm really happy for them. Admittedly, they didn't score fuck all either, so that's 0-0. 2 points dropped for Arsenal.
That's a big point in the relegation battle.
For Arsenal, they're the sort of games you go... I mean, you're at home, but you go home to Crystal Palace and you get a point. Arteta will be thrilled with that, and I'm sure all of their fans
Roy
will as well.
Hodgson is absolutely fuming at the fact that his team have dropped 2 points.
We'll, of course, be talking about that on Premier League Piss Take on Monday, me and Adam.
I hope
and
so.
Hopefully, imagine we get to talk about United beating Liverpool at Anfield as well.
Can we do better than Arteta with Roy Hodgson, or have I got to leave that to you guys?
I mean, it goes without saying, doesn't it? Roy Hodgson got Fulham to a Europa League final, so he's better than most managers, let alone Arteta.
Get involved in the comments, guys. Let us know what you think of Donny van der Beek. He's a guy that sort of, when the team's announced, regular as clockwork, it comes up, Donny van der Beek is trending because everyone seems to lose their minds that he's not starting. Because, like you say, he's played a lot of games. He doesn't tend to start a lot in the Premier League, which, as we've covered, is quite to be expected. Adam8923 says, the narrative about Donny not starting is ridiculous. He's only been at the club a few months. Yeah. His time will come. I completely agree. There's quite a lot of comments. People loving the fact that Arsenal drawn 0-0.
Lovely.
I mean, yeah, it's quite funny.
Am I the only one who's sort of losing some of the enjoyment of watching them drop points? Because part of the enjoyment was the novelty of it. The fact that here's where they usually are and here's where they are currently. But they're a mid-table team who are mid-table. Like, it doesn't quite have the same lustre it had a couple of years ago and a couple of weeks ago. Now they're just... It's not sad, because it is enjoyable, but they're just a pretty shit... look at the players. They've got one good player, and even he's not very good.
Are you saying?
Aubameyang.
Oh, I thought
he's a good player who scored a lot of goals for him, and he's not been good for 8 months.
I wonder
what he's
going through Thomas Partey's mind.
Well, we'll get to that in just a minute, shall we? Because what I want to do with you, Jay, is...
Go on.
I'm so glad you've raised that, because...
Set that up for you there, son. Go on.
I want to talk about what United can do to go from here, where we're talking about we can maybe challenge for the title. We've still got more than 20 games left this season.
Yes.
To here, where we go, it's ours to lose.
Yes.
Because we haven't started a season with it's ours to lose since David Moyes came in, and my God, did he lose it, right? But to go from here, which is on a good season, if other teams drop points, we can challenge. To here, it's ours to lose. Who do we need to sign?
Right. So
whether that comes in January, because there is still a chance. And I know we're talking and we're taking the piss a little bit, because so far it's not looking likely with the signings for United. There's still a chance we'll sign someone. And as Laurie Whitwell said, as Fabrizio Romano said, or Laurie Whitwell certainly, if the right player comes along, we will sign them. Yeah. So it's not as a zero chance that we're going to get someone.
Listen, things happen. We've seen it in the past. Some of our best signings have been last minute. Yeah. Andy Cole, Eric Cantona. Falcao. What? He's available. What? You want to get rid of him? Yeah, well, I mean, of course we'll. I'm looking towards the summer, though, mate. I'm not going to lie to you, because you're talking about transfers, and I think about where we need to strengthen, what's going to happen in the future, what the areas we need to strengthen, and you can see from the graphic there, I've basically picked, 3 of the best players around. Because I want to see
When
them
you
at
say
Old
the
Trafford.
areas we need to strengthen,
Yeah.
all of them on the pitch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the pitch, obviously, above the manager, you can strengthen anyone because they're all Muppets. But on the pitch, right wing is an area. Dan James, you could argue the jury's out. I've always said give him to the end of the season. At the end of the season, we'll look at it and say, is he good enough? Or is he a first team player or is he just going to be a squad player? I still think the right wing is an area that is a little bit problematic. Yes, I rate Mason Greenwood. I think cutting in on his left foot, he can do a job there. But you could look at it and go, we could probably do with someone who is a bit more sort of suited to that or who can play there. And I've gone with the obvious target, Jadon Sancho.
Yeah.
We didn't get him in the summer. We're going to go again, as sure as the day is long. And I think this time we might get him because I think the price will drop because he hasn't been playing that well. What are you laughing at?
Every time you say as sure as the day's long, in my head I say as Luke sure as the day is Shane Long. Every single time. So carry on.
As Luke sure as the day is Shane Long, right, we'll go for Jadon Sancho again. His price will have dropped because he's a year into his contract. He hasn't been playing as well as he was previously. He wants to come to United. United want him. I can see that deal being made. So that's why I have gone with Jason Sanchez.
Probably for a cut price as well. That's the thing.
Yes, it's an ongoing joke, Cam, that we call him Jason Sanchez.
That you've heard about 40 times.
Yes.
The thing with Sancho as well is,
Go on.
obviously, cut price, whatever, in terms of his contract, if he has a bad season and I say bad season, let's say he gets 10 goals, 10 assists instead of
goals?
20 and 20 like he has been
Loser.
getting, you might take 15, 20 million off him just because of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll go again. I think we'll probably get him, and I think he'll be an effective player for Manchester United Football Club. The second one I've gone with, and Macro will love this because it's his favourite player on the planet, Jack Grealish. Now, pains me to say it, but it's going to happen. Paul Pogba is going to leave in the summer. Regardless of how well he's been playing, I don't see that changing. Even if we win the league, I don't see it changing. I hope I'm wrong because I rate Paul Pogba. I really do. But I think he's going to move on. I think we've got to be pretty resigned to that fact. When he goes, I don't want us to go, we've got Donny van der Beek, we don't need to buy anyone. No. If you're going to lose Paul Pogba, you need to bring someone in. You need to strengthen. You were talking earlier about one of our strongest midfields, and you went back to the 2007, 2008 season. Yeah. In the summer of 2007, we just won the league, right? And we went out and we bought Carlos Tevez, Owen Hargreaves, Nani, Anderson, and it's like we went on then and won the double, the proper double, the Champions League and the league. Because you strengthen when you're strong, and I think that's what we need to do. If we lose Paul Pogba, we need to bring in someone of that calibre because we can't be getting weaker, regardless of whether we won the league or not. Even if we finish second or whatever, we need to strengthen. So I would love to see someone like Jack Grealish come in. Yes, he's Villa through and through, but I think if you give them enough money, you can get him, and we should be going for that. As we did in 2007, we went for it. We should be doing that again, going for it and getting the very best players we can possibly hope to get. And Jack Grealish fits that mould, and I think if Pogba goes out, he can fill a Paul Pogba-shaped hole in our team. I know he's a slightly different player, but you can mix it up a bit. He's someone who can, in Bruno can swap around. He can play in a 10, he can play on the right side, on the left. I know you think he likes to play on the left a bit more. There's always an option there with Jack Grealish, and I think he'd be fantastic.
Sort of drive through the middle as well.
Yeah,
the only driving he can do these days as well, famously.
Topical.
Bit of a joke.
And my third one, just some of the laughs we have here, good example of it. My third one is Thomas Partey. Now, I've said this every week to you, it does you ready, because you're like, Arsenal just bought him.
Yeah.
He's their only real world-class type player. They're not going to sell him to us. Well, I disagree, Joseph, because one, Arsenal are a selling club, right? They always have been. Let's face it, they didn't want to sell us Van Persie, but they did. They didn't want to sell us Sanchez, but they did. They didn't want to sell City, Samir Nasri, but they did. Or Gael Clichy, or Emmanuel Adebayor, or Bakary Sagna.
Or Chelsea, Ashley Cole.
Oh, yeah. Well, they sell players.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They didn't want Henry to go to Barca, but he
Gallas.
went. Yeah. It's like,
or
if you want...
Whatever, either way.
If you want, yeah, exactly. If you want to play from Arsenal, you can get him.
Yeah.
And I think he's sat there in 14th or wherever they are, thinking, what the am I doing here in this shit show? I want out.
Isn't it amazing that he ever even went from Atletico Madrid to Arsenal?
Well, that was a great move, wasn't it? Oh, I'll just go from the top of La Liga to the 5th best club in London.
I understand that Arsenal are a big name and they've won leagues and all that sort of thing, but Atletico Madrid have won La Liga more recently than Arsenal have won the Premier League. What was that as a move? He used to play regularly for them.
I think it's just money.
It was a very weird. It must
just give him a massive
money.
Pay bump, and I think it might be one of them where he was like, I don't know, maybe he might have even been like, you know what, I've got 50 million quid release clause, and Atletico are like, you can go.
Yeah,
so
and
I will
get
go.
5% of
yeah,
that.
so we'll
who
go
knows?
then. Maybe the club didn't really sort of fight to keep him. I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me why anyone would want to go from Atletico to Arsenal. You know, he's just ridiculous. But he did it. So those are my 3 players. Go on, Joe.
I like your players, Jay.
Yeah.
I like what you're saying there. I like what you're doing there. I struggle to believe we're going to get Thomas Partey from Arsenal.
Because you're negative, Joe. It's always been your problem, son. You've always been too negative. Can't see the bigger picture. You're looking at it as like a pie, and you need to look through like the prism, like the thing.
That's a smaller picture, not a bigger picture.
Oh, yeah, don't you know?
What? I look at it like a pie, and you look at it like
you're not looking
you
at
zoom
it
out, and you
like
see a table full of pies, each of a different shade of colour that make up the face of Thomas Partey, like some Art Attack giant mosaic. Is that what you see?
Thank you. Finally, he gets it. God, it took you long enough.
If it weren't your birthday, I'd be diving across this table and taking you out, mate. Right, I'm going to go for my 3 players that I think will take United from being here to here. I agree with you on Jack Grealish. I think he's the most creative player in the Premier League at the moment.
Yes.
Other than Bruno Fernandes, of course. I think he's excellent. He's the right age. He seems to fit the mould of, who Ole likes to sign. He likes to sign young British players, whether there's necessarily a need for that or not. I think he fits that mould perfectly. There's no worry about him coming from another country because, again, it's a bit of an old-fashioned cliche at this point. But sometimes people don't translate their form from one team to another or one country to another. So I think you're less likely to see that with Jack Grealish, who we know how good he is for Aston Villa, and they are, rapidly or massively improved this season, but last year clinging on for dear life. And then in that defensive midfield position, I've gone for Wilfred Ndidi, who I think, you look at the stats on tackling, every single season, or for the last couple of seasons, it's been Pereira, who also plays for Leicester, right back. It's Wan-Bissaka and it's Ndidi occupying those top spots. Yeah. And I think a really robust sort of... He's just so difficult to get past. And he's so good at tackling, and his defensive positioning is so good. I think he's the sort of person that you could have Grealish and Van der Beek in front of. Or you could have... Grealish and Bruno Fernandes in front of him, and he can do that by himself.
That's why I liked about Partey, was that similar thing of he could do that job on his own. Yeah. But to be fair, that is a more realistic target.
And it's going to cost you a lot of money because I think he's only 24 years old.
And also, Leicester don't need to sell players on the cheap. They've got owners who care about them. They've got owners who've got a lot of money. Obviously, they are a selling club. There's no denying that. But they get good money for the players.
Yeah, as we saw.
Harry Maguire. Yeah. I think City's record signing is still Riyad Mahrez.
56 million?
Something like 60, yes. It was 60 million mark. So they get good money. Is it Chilwell went for 50 million?
Yeah.
I think so. He's gettable, but you have to pay the money.
Yeah, he's going to cost a lot of money, but I think he's an excellent player who's Premier League proven, who's the right age, who does that job by himself and is brilliant. And, I'd anything less than really sort of 80, 90 million, I think he's the right person to go for. And finally, Erling Haaland, who the fact that you've overlooked him, the fact that you've not put Erling Haaland on your list of players United need to sign, is quite frankly a disgrace.
Rubbish, mate.
And I say that on your birthday.
Don't even want him.
And I'd say even worse if it weren't.
Barcelona going for him.
Well, Barcelona are going for him, but Ole sort of... I think maybe people overplay Ole's connection to Haaland because he was about at the same time at Mulder and all this sort of... he didn't coach him for 200 games. He knows him sort of a bit, a little bit. But the fact that he's got a buyout clause that I think becomes active, like I said, in 2022, the fact that I think it's 72 million euros, which, he's worth double that. If he didn't have that buyout clause, you are looking at well over 100 million euros for this player. I think he's 20 years old, maybe 21 now, and he's averaging a goal a game for Borussia Dortmund. You can talk about whether it translates or not, whether the Premier League tax that people like to call it, whatever it may be. He's one of the best strikers in the world, and he's only just, in his 20s. I think he's the perfect person. I like Tony Marshall, I really do. I think the fact that he can play on the left wing means that he's not someone we have to sell immediately. But the thing that worries me for Marshall is last season where he got 23 goals or 24 goals, I can't remember what it was.
I think it was 23.
Yeah. It was in a trophyless season, and that's not his fault, and he was very good, and he came in and he very few set pieces. I think he only scored one penalty, that kind
Yeah,
of thing.
that's a credit to him,
Yeah,
scoring his goals from open play.
season for him. But that has to be a springboard for more goals, or at least the same goals. If you want to be United's number 9...
Oh, sorry, someone in the comments saying 24 goals, so
okay,
forgive me if I
24.
got that wrong.
So if you want to be United's number 9, year after year after year after year, like we saw Wayne Rooney do, like we've seen, I mean, to be honest, it's a hard job to hold down. We saw Van Nistelrooy do it for a few years. If you want to do that, that standard can't go 17, whatever it was before that, 24,
23.
10.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And as much as I like Tony Marshall, I really do, and I think his performances haven't been as bad as his goal record has reflected, we need someone up front who's scoring goals. Whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to give as an excuse or a reason why he's not, firing goals in, someone has to score goals for Manchester United. And Erling Haaland would do that.
No, you're right, and it's sort of, I always think it's amazing what he's doing as well when you think of the top of the league, and he wanted Grealish, he wanted Erling Haaland, he wanted Sancho, he wanted Upamecano, he didn't get any of them.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And people go, well, what about Edinson Cavani? He's 33.
And he was a makeshift, quick, final,
he's not going to be the one who comes in.
Get your signings in the comments as well. Let us know who you think United should sign. Who would be the 3 signings that would make United the best team in the league, if there are such signings available.
I'm going to dive into the comments, as well, just before we wrap up as well. Haaland, someone, Nick M says Haaland may go to Bayern Munich once Lewandowski is done. I mean, that is a transfer move that happens constantly, in it, where someone does well at Dortmund, and then someone else is saying Barcelona absent. Duck says Barcelona will be shopping when Messi leaves for City or PSG. He says Ronaldo 1 season return. Don't see that happening, to be honest with you.
Unless we win the league this year.
Yeah.
If United win the league or a big trophy let's say we win the FA Cup and the Europa League or something like that, and Ronaldo may be the final piece to winning the Premier League, then I could see it making sense. Let's say we drop down and we're 15 points off the top by the time the end of the season rolls around and we don't win anything. I don't think Ronaldo makes sense in that position, but if he's the final piece, then maybe.
Just before I wrap up as well, a lot of people sort of negative, or not negative, but sceptical of as whether we'll get the likes of Haaland or Grealish. But I think, if we want United to be truly the United back where we belong, at the top, and we're at the top again, at the minute anyway, then we need to be looking at these types of players. And let's not forget as well, even though, I can't stand our owners, the parasites, and they've took the absolute living piss out of this club, we do still spend money, and it's our money. Let's not forget that. But we spent 80 million on Harry Maguire. We spent 89 million on Paul Pogba. We spent 79 million on Romelu Lukaku. So the idea of us going out and spending a similar amount of money on Jack Grealish or Jadon Sancho or Erling Haaland or whatever isn't beyond the realms of possibility. Especially if you look at it and you think someone like Erling Haaland or even any of them players I mentioned have got sort of at least another 5 or 6 years at the top, if not more in some cases. So, from a purely business point of view, it makes sense.
We've made signings of 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 million pretty much every summer for the last 10 years. I don't think we spend enough in terms of what we make, and the fact that, like you said, the owners are siphoning off a huge portion of our profits then only spending roughly what other teams who actually make a lot less money than us spend, that is disgraceful. But the idea that there's no chance we're going to sign Grealish or Haaland because they're 70 million.
Also, as well,
we regularly sign players
Paul
for 50
Pogba
plus.
keeps having the season he's having, and he's going to go. I don't want to bang on about that, but we're going to, he's at least 60 million there.
Yeah,
at least, if not more.
I think it should be more than that, just for how marketable he is. Like, he's one of the most recognisable, famous, well-known footballers in the world, and he's also world-class, and if he can do that to the end of the season, like I said, we'll get 70 million for Paul Pogba if he can carry on his current form. I'm just going to wrap up with this. Conor Cleary says, get Cam in midfield. There you go. I'll have some of what I think Conor Cleary's been drinking bottles of what you've been having. But someone else is saying as well, get Ronaldo Brown. So a lot of Paddock FC love in the comments. Guys, as well, lots of people wishing me happy birthday. I do appreciate it's not every day you're 29 years old, so I appreciate all the love I've been getting. Although this is the 13th year in a row that you've been 29.
Yeah, 12th year in a row.
So, it's not every day, but it is
Someone
every year.
worked out before in the chat as well, was like, he's actually 41. So, guys, thanks as well for getting involved in the comments. What have we got coming up? Tell everyone.
We've got loads coming up. We've got the preview for the Liverpool game. which is, I mean, as big a game as we've seen in years at Manchester United.
Yes.
We've got Howson's Brew tomorrow with René Meulenstein, which is, again, massive.
What's going on there?
For those who don't know who René Meulenstein is, and I can't believe I'm saying this, he was the head coach, assistant coach, first team coach at Manchester United from 2007 to 2013.
He came in that spell where we didn't win much. We only won 5 titles in the Champions League during that spell. So
exactly.
We'll ask him what went wrong.
One of, if not the most successful assistant coach in the history of Manchester United.
In the history of football, to be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be on Howson's Brew tomorrow, so make sure you check that out. A fantastic guest. And again, of course, leading up to the weekend, we'll have the transfer review with Stephen Howson. And then on Sunday, my God, it's big.
The watch along, and we'll have Howson, we'll have Andy Tate, you'll have me and Joe. We'll get a reaction from Adam McCullough, of course, as well. It's going to be kicking right off when United go to Anfield. Beat them, open up a 6-point gap, end their winning run.
In their title hopes.
Hopes, yeah.
Fuck it, say it.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then happy days, 21 is coming. Regardless of that, guys, thanks for your support. Do hit like and share and subscribe if you're not subscribing as well. Check out the members section, as Joe was saying before. We've got extra content on there. Just done an interview with Laurie Whitwell. And also we're doing some giveaways. We've just given away a PlayStation 5 and we'll keep doing even giveaways as well. And we appreciate all the support we get from our members and from you guys. We appreciate it all. That's been Joe Smith. You know where to find him. I've been Jay Mossy.
Happy birthday.
Thank you once again. This has been Stretford Paddock Live. Thanks for watching.